What is up, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a good time doing whatever it is that you're doing. Thank you for spending some time with me. So, as you can see for the description, what I'm going to be doing for you guys is doing a review on no other than Mo Thug Family Scriptures. Now, first things first. Hopefully you're here because you already know about this album. If you're not, go get the album. And second, what the hell are you doing? Why don't you have the album? If you are an 80s baby, you 9 out of 10 have had this album for probably every bit of 20 years plus. If not, you've probably had this album in the first 15 years and it probably got scratched, lost, loaned it to the friend who steals all your CDs, or you left it in somebody's car riding around or whatever. Anyway, so first thing I'm going to tell you about this album is it is a bumping ass album. It is. I don't care what as far as hip hop that you're into that makes you a fan of the music. I don't care if it's the beat, the flow, the production, whatever. This shit right here has it. It has it. Now, with this album, this was a real door opener for a lot of artists. And when I say a lot of artists, I'm talking 10 plus members. It opened a lot of doorways for a lot of people who currently at the time wanted to pursue hip hop, but really didn't have a way to pursue hip hop. So it opened a lot of doors for a lot of great people, a lot of great artists who had a lot of great versatility. And versatility is actually, honestly, what makes this whole entire album. It's not an album of 10 members who are from the same group, who have the same flow. And honestly, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, even as a diehard fan, if it was, I do not think I would enjoy this album as much as I did and still do. And when I say that I still do, I don't mean I listen to this shit right here like once every year. I don't listen to this once every 6 months. This is a monthly listener for me. And if you think about it, given that this is an album from 1996, that's pretty impressive, right? Now, even though that's a personal preference for me, if you're a Bone fan, it wouldn't make too much sense to me how you could say I really don't like Family Scriptures, given that 4 of them are on there. And that, excuse me, that brings me to my next point. One thing that you would notice if you listen to this album from start to finish is exactly what I just said. There's 4 members on there, which means there's 1 not on there. And I've really never seen too many people talk about this or bring attention to it, but luckily for you, I have more than just a couple answers on that. And if you're a Bone fan, or even a Mo Thug fan, you already know the answer to this. Who wasn't on here? Well, Busy. And that's your first question. Why isn't Busy on here? Well, to be honest, it's really not that long or a difficult answer. It's actually a very short answer, and I'm going to elaborate on it. Busy is not on this album because he didn't want to have any bad business connects. He didn't want any bad business dealings, period. Which was interesting to me because when I first discovered this, which was honestly 2-3 years ago. Keep in mind now, Bone got signed in 94. This came out in 96. And I want to say production on this was planned in 95. It didn't start going in production until 96. And the reason why that is because if you watch the movie Straight Outta Compton, the actor who played Jerry Heller, he said something that was really, really true. He said, even a good talent can crash and burn. Nothing is really assured. And that is so true. And that's why it took a couple of years for Mo Thug to really come out with the album, because first of all, Bone had needed to solidify and solidify their time and career at Ruthless. You know, Ruthless had to make sure that they weren't going to be a one-hit wonder. They had to be sure that they weren't going to just make one album and hopefully it sell. You know, obviously that was completely the opposite. You know, Bonus a huge success with over 55 million albums sold. So 2 years later, when they seen that it was only escalating, they decided to go ahead and grab all the guys. And of course, they had to verify their talent, and of course, it was platinum status. So then you did end up getting Family Scriptures. How do I know this? Well, personally, I actually work with and for Soulja Boy. I have, excuse me, I have for a couple of years now, still do. Minimum started working with him a couple of years ago. He's pretty much everything that you think he is, and probably wondered if he was like. He is excellent guy. Love him to death. And when I say I work for him, I don't mean just online. No, I mean I legitimately and authentically work for him up under his label and brand, Tally Up Kings, Tally Up Records. You can look up that up online, Facebook, anywhere. If you want to know more, you can message me directly. So, getting back focused on this. One thing that I actually noticed about this album. Now, keep in mind, this album came out in 1996. Eternal come out in 95. You kind of get a vibe of Eternal, but with this album, you kind of get a vibe of The Art of War. And I've never seen that opinion anywhere on the internet, ever. But if you listen to this album, if you actually pop this album in and press play and do not skip nothing and just enjoy the whole entire album, you will notice that you have the deep, dark, gangsta heartbeat production. But you also hear a lot of storytelling, a lot of descriptions, and a lot of emotion in this album. That's why I really can say that it's really got a mix of Eternal and The Art of War, because that's how those albums work. It's definitely in its own category, that is for sure. And the only album that you will hear remotely close to Family Scriptures is going to be Chapter 2 Family Reunion. Because, and you have to understand, guys, you know, this is a group and an album of, again, 10 plus artists. So it's likely that it's going to be in its own category. You know, there's so much versatility on there. And you have male rappers, female rappers. You have groups that were already groups. So you got a group of multiple groups with multiple versatility. It was just, I really don't know how to word it. It was a phenomenal decision for them to decide to do this, because it was just straight brilliant. It was. And I've personally never seen or heard a group from 95 to 2000, in my personal opinion, come close to Mo Thug's Family Scripture, this album in particular. So I'm gonna get into a little bit of details about this album. The good thing about Family Scriptures is this came out when DJ Unique was hot and fresh and still had the vibe and energy. I'm not saying that he still doesn't, because he does. I mean, a producer will be a producer, an artist will be an artist. What I'm referring to is those boys was in the hot seat when they came out with Eternal. And you can hear that same production on this album. Unique did not play when it comes to these beats. Bone did not play when it comes to these beats. And you can definitely tell that Mo Thug artists have been waiting for this for years on all these beats, from 1 to 16. Now, whenever you open up this CD, you'll see the artwork of individual artists with an individual picture on here. And then on the back, you'll see where everybody is posing in their stance in a desert. Now, when I first seen this, I just thought the whole militant state that they was presenting was awesome. But it was recently, I think probably about a month ago, I really started to wonder, where did they take that photo shoot at? And come to find out, they actually took this photo shoot somewhere in South LA in the middle of a desert. Like at lunchtime, when the sun was out and it's bright, they literally went out into a desert in the middle of nowhere and did this. And I thought that was so dope because when it comes to artists these days, nothing is really authentic anymore. Everything is green screened or either it's the same. Everybody does the same poses in the cars, with the women, with the bottles of liquor, with the money posted up in front of the car or in the pool. Artwork really doesn't have a category anymore. You pretty much know what to expect on an art cover. There's no really authenticity or no creative presentation anymore. But what they did here was dope. Really was dope. And there's a lot of history on each and every one of these guys. Unfortunately, there's a few of these guys who are no longer with us. You can do your research on that. I'm not going to go over all of them. I really want to try to focus on the album itself. So, what are the bangers on here? Well, to be personally honest with you, that is personally opinionated. Because what may have been the single for this album, you may hear it, you may just think it's okay, maybe not all that great. For me, No Pretender, Lowdown, sorry, Ghetto Blues. Those I think are probably my three favorites. Yeah, they are my three favorites. So I'm gonna go over a few of the artists on here. Of course, you got Crazy Lazy Wish Flesh. You're not gonna hear Busy. You're not gonna hear Busy on this one. You're not gonna hear Busy on any of the Mo Thug albums. Then you got Soulja Boy, my homie. Shout out to Soulja Boy, King Jamma. Again, check him out. And you got Poetic Hustlers. Those also are my boys. Mo, I actually talked to Mo. I actually know him personally. I've spoke with him a few times. We talk from time to time still. Tony Tone, I talked to him as a fan. He's really pretty occupied. And Boogie is a needle in the haystack. It's hard to get a hold of him. I have spoken to him a few times. All of them really great guys. You have Graveyard Shift on here. You have Too True, Thug Queen. There's a lot of artists on here, guys. I mean, I'm not even gonna sit here and tell you I know all of them by heart, but I will tell you to trust that versatility is there. And another great thing about this album is that there is hardly anybody who sounds the same. Everybody has a signature voice. Everybody really has a signature flow. That's what made this album platinum, guys. It wasn't the fact that they came from Bone, that they were signed from the Bone. It was the fact that these guys really came with it, period. Everybody, excuse me, everybody really pulled their own weight on this album. I can't really say that anybody really left anybody in the dust on this album. I don't think I can fairly say that. The women pretty much kept up. The fellas kept up. Production was on point. It was just simply a classic. And I don't mean that opinionatedly. I mean that this is literally considered a classic in the 90s era of hip-hop. And I'll give you a little bit of history on this album. I've actually researched and I've seen that I'm not sure how this came about, but they say that Thug Queen was the first Mo Thug artist. Now, I'm not saying this disrespectfully, but that is simply not true. Again, keep in mind now, I mean, my boss is Soulja Boy, and I talked to Mo Hart more than a few times, and I've had long conversations with him. I talked to Soulja Boy just about every single week, and that's just simply not true. The first guys who actually ran with Bone was Poetic Hustlers and Soulja Boy. Reason being is because those guys were actually running with Bone before Ruthless was even a thing for Bone. And I don't mean like 6 months or a year. I'm talking years before this even happened. You know, I'm talking 92, 93, 91. Like, these guys was really boys in the streets. Like, they ran with each other on a day-to-day basis. Um, so yeah, that was Poetic Cluster and Soulja Boy, who were initially the first Mo Thugs artists. And of course, you know, they had homies together in Cleveland. Then, you know, you have Graveyard Shift, you have Sin. So those guys was actually the first members of Mo Thug. Now, when it come to signing additional members, that could have been what they was really referring to. Then you could say that, yes, I would agree then. One thing about Poetic Hustlers now, because they came out with an independent or a individual album called Trials and Tribulations, that's where those guys shine themselves. It's nothing like Eternal. It's nothing like Creeping on the Come Up. It's nothing even like Family Scriptures. Those guys have a very unique and signature style themselves. It's a very spiritual album. To go ahead and sum it up for you, it's a very spiritual album, yet you still do have the violent hip-hop in it though. You still do have the gangster beats, the gangster rap, and how they did it, they really made it work. Honestly, I think Poetic Hustlers had a lot more potential. I feel like with the right marketing, the right promotion, Trials and Tribulations could have went gold easily. For you guys who are unfamiliar with them, just go listen to Poetic Hustle Trials and Tribulations. I'm pretty sure you can find it online, YouTube, somewhere. If you see it on eBay, Amazon, Discogs, Discogs, however you pronounce it, go and grab your used copy. I'm pretty sure you can get one for every bit of $30, you know, maybe $35 with shipping. Order it and just give it a shot. Just listen to it. Don't skip through any tracks. Just press it and play it, and you'll see what I'm saying. They got a real spiritual vibe sound, but yet they got gangster production. They just made the whole thing work, and it suited them. It suited them as the individual musicians that they were. You know, they wasn't trying to ride no certain wave. They did what and how they were as individual musicians. Soulja Boy straight killed it. Okay, there is not a track on here that he's not a part of that he didn't kill, and honestly, there's not a track on any Bone project that he did not kill. I'll say this, and it's not just because he's my homie, it ain't because I work for him. There's a reason why you hear Soulja Boy on a lot more future Bone tracks than you do any other Mo Thug artist. I don't know how to say that politely. It just is. It is what it is. You know, it is what it is. He was on the All Out War. He was on Krayzie Bone's Thug Mentality 1999 album. And if you go back and listen to those projects, man, I mean, he really did his thing. He was on some other future projects too. But I mean, he snapped. I mean, a lot of Bone artists, fans, say that they believe if anybody from Mo Thugs could have been a Bone member, it would have been Soulja Boy. And you'll kind of catch that though in his flow, because he was one of the Mo Thug artists who you could tell could really keep up, you know, as far as the speedy flow. Now back to production on this. This is one of Unique's project. Now let me clarify something that a lot of people have misconstrued, and all it takes is really a look on the back of the album. Mo Thugs was not signed to Ruthless Records, okay? Mo Thugs was introduced to Eazy, and of course, everything got basically brought to the table from and by Ruthless Records, but Mo Thugs was signed by Relativity. Relativity was the people who brought to you and distributed to you Mo Thug Family Scripts. And if you look on the back of the CD, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm gonna try to get it to where you can. Well, first of all, there's the Mo Thug label right there, Mo Thug Records. And I don't believe that you can see this because I got my phone standing up on my computer, but it does say Relativity. It does not say Ruthless because they were not signed to Ruthless. Now, if you listen to Eternal, the first time that you actually hear any artist on this album was on Eternal, and that's on Shout to the Double Glock. And if you go on the internet and actually research, you'll see back when Bone was just doing shows for Creeping on the Come Up, you'll actually see Soulja Boy at some of their shows on stage with them. So before these guys even came out with this record, they was already rolling with Bone from the beginning on forward. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think Mo Thug just showed up in 1996. That's not the case. They was involved with Easy and Bone before Family Scripture was even a thing. Mo Hart actually told me personally that this is back when Creeping on the Come Up was being recorded, that Boogie Night and him was going shopping in the malls and shit, and Easy was buying them clothes and stuff like that. So I mean, like, you know, they was tight and things was working before records was even produced. A lot of people don't know that. So how good did this album do specifically? Well, it went platinum. It sold over 1 million copies, and I don't know if you guys understand how marketing and promoting really works, but I will tell you this, guys. Even if you are having good promotion, it is extremely hard to sell 1 million copies. And keep this in mind now. Now, if it would have been 1 or 2 members out who made a record, I could see that possibly more realistically. Again, you got to keep in mind, guys, this is an album with 10 plus members. So fans are having to guesstimate what to expect from not 1, not 2, not 3 members who's introduced by Bone, but over 10. That's a lot to predict. But all it took was a little bit of radio campaign and the first few people to actually buy the album. And of course, then what happened? What happened back in the 90s? Everything was pretty much word of mouth and radio. Really, I mean, you got TV ad here and there, but it was nothing like today. So essentially, this record did good on its own just due to it being strictly a dope ass project. So that really tells you the real talent that Mo Thug had, and I really wish that we could have got more from these guys, man. It's really a shame, especially with Poetic Culture, because they had a lot of potential. They just really never had the opportunity, chance, market, and AR. It just, the time wasn't invested in them. Soulja Boy could have done extremely well just by himself. As you know, Soulja Boy wasn't in a group. He was just an individual artist. And then there's a lot of the artists who just stopped doing music after things went downhill. And the music just left a lot of them. A lot of them just stopped doing music in general. And it's a shame, but it happens. You know, if the money's not there, you know, a lot of people's strive and dedication leaves. You know, I mean, you gotta picture it like this. You know what I mean? You know, how many people are going to still go to their jobs after they take a pay reduction? You know, it's really just quite that simple. But yeah, initially though, guys, this album is really exceptional. These guys were really hungry when they made these projects. They were really hungry. These guys, all of them come from broke homes, broken neighborhoods, broken spirits, if you will. And they wanted this, and they showed it. They showed it, guys. I mean, I could sit here and give you my honest opinion on every single track, but I mean, I'm not saying this just because I'm doing a review. This is just a dope project from 1 through 16. It really is. There is nothing lacking in the production on any track. Every single track fits. Every single track makes sense. And all of them bump. I mean, you guys got systems in your trunks. This is something that you can put in there and bump down the highway. It is. Now, that is a past. What is a present? What are some of the artists doing now? Well, of course, we all know Bone is still doing their thing now. Mo Hart, he is still making music. I don't think he's dropped anything within the past year, but I do know for a fact he's still doing music. Boogie Night's supposed to be making an album called Platinum Thoughts. I have not heard much on that. Sin still does his thing here and there, not so much. Soulja Boy, my man, my boss, for sure is. Bam, there's your album right there. This is the most recent one. It's out now, called Flowers. And for you who always wanted an autograph from back then, you could never make it to a show or whatever, well, problem solved. You can get your CD autographed to you. You can actually go to his website called lyricalclub.com, I believe. lyricsclub.com. That's it. I was fixing to tell you, guys to hit me up in the comments. But you can do that too. You can do that too, guys. If I leave something out, or if I get to mention anything, and you have any questions, just message me directly. My name on Facebook is Prince Harmony. You can't miss my profile. If you have any questions, just ask me there. But he's still doing music, and this is actually a 9-track album, and it is very dope, guys. It is very, very dope. You see a lot of maturity in this album. You see a lot of spirituality in this album. You see a lot of motivation in this album, but yet you still hear the snapping bars in this album. You know what I mean? It's really a matured version of Soulja Boy, but yet keeping the lyrical snap punch bars, so to speak, but yet touching on a much rather mature tip, guys. I mean, this was 96, this is 2022. If he sounded the same, he wouldn't be much of a musician, right? But this guy has got project after project after project after project coming out, guys. And you can see that just by following his Facebook page, Tally Up Kings. Again, if you need help on finding anything, guys, hit me up. I'll help you out the best way I can, which as far as he goes, there's nothing I can't help you out on. And you can get your CDs autographed. You can just get them with his name, Soulja Boy, or he can put your name on it or whatever. Guys, these CDs, they are not expensive. I want to say on the website right now, you can get this, I think, for the CD itself for $12. I think autographs $15. I'm not sure. I can't really remember. It's been a couple weeks, a few weeks since I've looked on there. But yes, and another thing too, speaking of CDs, is that's another good thing about him. He still makes physical copies. And every project's going to have physical CDs, even if it's just a limited amount, just for the collectors, the fans, the diehards to have, you're going to get that. And that's another good thing. And a lot of guys, you're from Australia, a lot of guys are just out of pocket, right? And you can't go to a show, especially right now with how things are. So no worries, you got your autograph, you can get your t-shirts, you can get posters, your CDs. It's a merch site, so I mean there's plenty there for you to get. But yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up as far as that goes with family scriptures. If you guys have any individual questions, holler at me, let me know. Tell me in the comments down below though, man, what is your opinion on this album, man? What did you think about it? When you first heard it, what was your initial thoughts? What did you like about it? And I'm open to hear all your open, honest criticism and opinions. Tell me what you didn't like about the album. You know, if there was something that you thought that should have been on the album that wasn't on the album, if you think that it lacked something, or if you think that you wish that you could have heard something, what was it? Let me know. Other than that, guys, I'm out. Love you guys. BTNH, Mo Thug, my homie Soulja Boy, Tally Up. Go check that up. Check that out. That's what I meant. Tally Up Kings. Peace out, y'all.